that a Dr. Ewing Cameron, the founder of the American Psychiatric Association, the APA, the lobby group in Washington that controls what doctors do for our heads when we run into trouble. APA, psychiatry is the youngest of all the healing arts, and it is the most primitive of them all. Because, yes, and I'm sure there's psychiatrists, may be psychiatrists in this room. After that clapping, I'm sure they won't hold their hands up. But I know there are therapists in here. I've seen 2 already. These therapists know exactly what I'm talking about because the information that they're provided by their lobby has been carefully screened. Information on rehabilitating victims of mind control is not only scarce, but it's required some incredible efforts by some brave individuals who wound up getting sued because they could not violate the civil rights of the individual that they were actually treating. The situation with Cathy and I was very different. I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't a psychiatrist. I had no insurance or practice or license to protect. So I kept Cathy from reading newspapers. You see, when I rescued her on February the 8th, 1988, she didn't know her name, how old she was, or where she'd been. I'd seen this with people involved in espionage, and I immediately thought that Cathy had been an information courier, even though she was dressed like a prostitute, walked like a prostitute, and talked like somebody that was leading a Christian choir somewhere. And it was such a conflict, I couldn't quite grasp this contrast until I was given a great deal of information from some people involved in intelligence in this country and abroad. I was fed a treatment modality that ultimately would lead to putting Cathy O'Brien free again for the second time in her life. The first time was when she was born, and it stopped right there. Cathy O'Brien had been a victim of the most horrendous abuse system known to man. The type of mind control, again, that Adolf Hitler thought that he could use on certain individuals, putting them in positions of extraordinary power and having invisible strings, the master puppeteer, to their minds and what they said. I don't know if we have politicians like that now or not, because it seems like you don't have to put them under mind control. They'll do anything that corrupt members of Congress persuade them to do. I've known several corrupt congressmen that didn't have to be blackmailed with sex, that didn't have to be enticed with money or drugs. They just simply were corrupt. You see, a sociopath is a very outgoing individual. Leaders. Yeah, leaders. Yeah. Unfortunately, sociopaths have no conscience, no expression of soul. They do not relate to anyone else's pain except it gives them pleasure. MK Ultra was designed and had many, many sub-projects for developing the perfect soldier, the perfect espionage agent. Things that I was told that would cover an area of our national security that no soldier and no diplomat could possibly cover. No one told me that we were using them as drug mules and prostitutes. No one told me that we were using them for breeders so that children could be provided sheiks, world leaders. No one told me that we were using them for money laundering operations. When I rescued Cathy and her daughter, the information about this is in the book. It took me a year to put Cathy back together, literally, with a whole lot of help and a whole lot of love. Other therapists don't have that latitude. They can't love their patients. They can't keep them away from telephones. They can't keep them away from newspapers and TVs, and they wind up getting contaminated because they're highly suggestible. Those of you who do not know about NLP should learn. Tony Robbins is an advocate of NLP, and he teaches. As a matter of fact, he taught George Bush and he taught Bill Clinton. And nothing wrong with Tony Robbins. He's not a bad guy. He's a smart businessman. And any smart businessman these days knows the value of neurolinguistics, or the language of the unconscious. But the language of the subconscious provided me the codes, keys, and triggers to unlock all the rest of the doors in Cathy's mind that pertain specifically to her abuse. It gave me information like bank account numbers first. And I found that rather unusual until I found out that most people who had worked around MK Ultra and knew anything about deprogramming, by the way, it's nothing more. I'm nothing more than a hacker. Instead of hacking a hard drive computer, I'm hacking the hard drive up here. This job as a hacker provided me some incredible information on bank account numbers. And instead of going down and looting the bank accounts and having to hide for the rest of my natural life in luxury, I took them to the FBI and gave them to them. Not because I knew they were clean or dirty. It's because I didn't want them to kill me over it. I provided everything that's in this book over a period of 3.5 years to every state, federal, and local law enforcement agency that was directly involved with this case. And the names of over 1,000 agencies and people are in this book. I wanted to get this before Congress. I wanted to get it before Congress, like happened in the 95th U.S. Congress in 1977, when the wife of a Canadian cabinet member had gone in to a mental hospital in Montreal where Dr. Ewan Cameron was practicing. I wonder why they say practicing. And she came out as a vegetable. Well, the cabinet member, I don't recall his name right now, he was just incensed on trying to find out what had happened to his wife. They'd put her through horrific electroshock tortures and every other conceivable torture, drugs, hypnosis. Unfortunately, many others were involved in Dr. Ewan Cameron, the founder of the APA's experiments. This is a small group, gang. I suppose, if you consider the population of the United States, it's so fractional, these bad guys that are in control of all of us, it's so fractional that we wonder what on earth could they be doing. But I don't believe anything changed. I believe the guy that he had for his replacement did exactly what he wanted to do, like start out with NAFTA and GATT. We're, as David Icke so eloquently said, a one-party system. There are ways to change that. My job and Cathy's job is to stand before groups like you, very nervous, because we're not nervous that we stand in front of you so much as we want to make sure that the information you get will excite you enough to where you'll go out and talk about it, or go out and investigate it and talk about it some more.
So it's good to see what a lot of love and patience could do, huh, folks? That was Mark Phillips talking about his experiences in the CIA and how, with his help and God's help, they rescued Cathy O'Brien. So I want to thank you for letting us into your living room. Silly Way Out Willie, Ganja Baby, Chief Footnote, I'm Buzzy Sipwack. Peace be to you, and we'll see you next week for Cathy O'Brien's testimony.
This is a test of the emergency bone system. This is only a test. This is a test of the emergency bong hit system. The bong hitters in your area, in voluntary defiance of federal, state, and local authorities, have developed this system to keep you informed in the event of a bong hit emergency. If this had been an actual emergency, the attention signal you just heard would have been followed by official supply information, police scanner news, and emergency bong hitting instructions. This concludes this test of the emergency bong hit system.
Quit playing games with God!
Wake up, America.